This is iFretless bass. The first thing that you notice when you touch this screen is that every note you play is velocity sensitive. Let's listen to the fretless bass sound. Here's the standard slap sound. Every note can be either slapped or picked with the thumb, depending on how I touch the screen. I want to show you what you can do with iFretless when you're running in GarageBand. Let's get GarageBand started up and open up a new song. The first thing I want to do is put some drums on this song, and these drums should be fine. So now I want to look at my tracks. On the next track, I want to add an audio unit. I see iFretless bass in my list of apps. I'll select it. When I do, you see the familiar iFretless bass interface at the top with the keyboard interface at the bottom. I'm going to press here to go full screen with iFretless bass and close the keyboard down. So I'm going to hit record. It should count me in, and then I'm ready to start doing my beat. Here we go. Right, so now I've got my beat recorded. You can see up at the top there's a green mark to show me that I've got 8 bars recorded into the timeline. And if I press here to see my tracks, you can see now my bass has recorded. And it's really nice, this is recorded as MIDI, which means that now I could go in here and edit this. If, for example, I played a wrong note, this first note didn't quite hit on the downbeat, so I can just slide that over and correct it. Same with this one. All right, so we've got a beat recorded in GarageBand. Let's play it back and listen to some of the tone options that we have. Acoustic bass. An aggressive fingerstyle. Aggressive fretless. Pick bass. This one's called aggressive pick bass. We could make this even more aggressive if we adjust the velocity response curve. Going the other way. Next one, this is synth bass. Clean pick bass. An electric upright. FM synth. Fingerstyle growl. This is using the same fingerstyle sound as before, but you hear a totally different tone because we really got this heavy EQ with heavy mid-range. Saw wave. Again, you can hear the mid-range is really boosted in the EQ. Slap with a mid-scoop. Muted pick bass. These were actually recorded with socks woven through the strings to mute the sound. another synth sound. Standard slap. I can get more slap by taking that velocity response curve down. If I wanted even more slap, I could move the sample velocity range to cut out some of those gentler sounds. Jazz bass. Fretless. It's a little too much reverb for this style. I'm going to take it down. Vintage jazz. Wonder bass. And that's all the presets we've got. You'll notice as you're listening to this recording that there are a lot of different articulations going on. So if we do this, for example, I get 2 slap notes, but if I play it legato, it won't slap the second note because when it transitions into the second note, it knows that both notes are on the same string. This is a connectivity app called AUM. It's managing MIDI and audio connections between several different apps. On the right, you can see iFretless Bass is here, but I'm not using that to generate audio right now. Actually, iFretless Bass is generating the MIDI input, and you can see it listed here as a MIDI input source for an app called Xeon, which is a model of an analog synthesizer. Now from Xeon, I'm going into the EOS reverb, and from there into a parametric equalizer, and finally into a limiter before going to the output. Let's listen to what this sounds like. In addition to doing MIDI connections with other apps, you can also use iFretless to connect with MIDI hardware. For example, you can use it as a bass module while you play on the keyboard. In order to do that, you need an adapter like this one. This has a lightning connector on one end, and on the other end it has a USB port. The keyboard has this USB input, not this one. So this goes in the adapter, this goes in the keyboard, and this goes in the iPad. With this together, you can either use a keyboard to control the sounds in iFretless Bass, or you can use iFretless Bass to play your sounds that are in your keyboard. iFretless Bass is available right now on the App Store. Alternatively, if you want to try this out before you buy it, we have an app called Bass Guitar One, which is a free app. As you can see, it looks exactly like iFretless Bass, and it works the same way. The only difference is that it only has one bass guitar sound, and it doesn't have the MIDI connectivity options. So if you want to try this out ahead of time and find out how good it really is, look in the description of this video and you'll see the links for iFretless Bass and Bass Guitar One.